What if everything you've been told about making a car last was quietly destroying it instead? 6 overlooked habits separate junkyard cars from legendary high-mileage machines, and most drivers unknowingly ignore every single one. Have you ever noticed how some cars seem perfectly fine, and then suddenly need repairs worth thousands? Most people blame bad luck or poor manufacturing. But what if cars don't actually die because they're old? What if they're slowly being destroyed by everyday habits most drivers never think about? That's exactly what changed everything for me. While many vehicles never make it past 200,000 miles, mine kept going. 300,000, 500,000, and eventually more than 700,000 miles. It wasn't a special car. The difference came from a few simple maintenance habits that most people completely overlook. Here's the surprising part. Dealerships and owners' manuals are mainly designed to get your car through its warranty, not necessarily to make it last for decades. Small habits repeated over the years quietly become expensive mistakes, and most drivers never realize it until it's too late. That's why this countdown matters. Every tip becomes more valuable than the last, and the final one takes less than 2 minutes but could prevent a repair costing thousands. But first, let's start with one tiny sensor that silently destroys some of the most expensive parts of your car. That tiny part is the oxygen sensor. Most drivers wait until the check engine light appears, but by then, the damage may have already begun. A failing sensor throws off the air-fuel mixture, wastes fuel, and slowly overheats the catalytic converter. One inexpensive sensor can eventually lead to a repair costing thousands. Now, think about parking. Holding the steering wheel at full lock for a few extra seconds puts huge pressure on the power steering pump, creating excessive heat and wearing it out much faster. Simply easing the wheel back slightly can extend the life of the entire system. Cold starts are another hidden enemy. Thick oil and cold engine parts create extra wear during the first few moments after startup. Giving the engine proper preheating in cold weather helps reduce that stress before you even begin driving. Another habit almost everyone ignores is using the parking brake. Shifting straight into park puts all the vehicle's weight on a tiny part inside the transmission. Engaging the parking brake first removes that stress and protects the transmission for years. Don't forget the differential either. Fresh differential oil keeps heavily loaded gears protected and prevents costly repairs later. Those were only the warm-up mistakes. The next habit happens every time you stop at a gas station, and millions of drivers still get it wrong. Picture this. The gas pump clicks, but you squeeze the handle one more time. It feels harmless, right? But that extra fuel can flood the EVAP system, damage the charcoal canister, and lead to repairs costing hundreds of dollars, all for a few extra cents of gasoline. Brake fluid is another silent problem. While everyone watches their brake pads, the fluid quietly absorbs moisture over time. As it gets contaminated, braking performance drops, corrosion spreads, and expensive ABS components can be damaged. A simple fluid flush every few years can prevent all of that. Now, imagine your timing belt snapping at highway speed. No warning, no second chance. On many engines, one broken belt can destroy the entire engine in seconds. Replacing it early is far cheaper than paying for a complete rebuild. And if you tow heavy loads or drive through steep mountains, heat becomes your transmission's biggest enemy. An external transmission cooler helps keep temperatures under control and greatly extends transmission life before serious damage begins. You might think your transmission is protected, but sometimes the real problem is the engine itself. A worn engine mount lets the engine move more than it should, putting constant stress on hoses, wiring, and the transmission. At first, it's just a small vibration. Ignore it long enough, and it can turn into a repair costing thousands. A quick engine mount check once a year can catch the problem early. Modern cars also hide miles of electrical wiring. Over time, wires can rub against metal, causing electrical faults, engine stalls, or even fire risks. A simple inspection during every oil change can prevent problems that are incredibly difficult to diagnose later. Then comes overheating, the mistake that destroys countless engines. Many drivers try to keep going after the temperature rises, but modern engines can't handle excessive heat for long. A few extra minutes of driving can lead to warped cylinder heads, blown head gaskets, and massive repair bills. Transmission fluid and power steering fluid also break down over time, even if they look fine. Replacing them before they fail keeps both systems protected and prevents costly repairs. But those aren't even the biggest hidden threats, because the cooling system can destroy an engine in seconds, and the next failures begin with nothing more than old rubber and a little water. Most catastrophic failures don't start with explosions or warning lights. They start quietly. A rubber hose hardens after years of heat. A thermostat sticks once. Everything looks normal, until coolant disappears, temperatures skyrocket, and a healthy-looking engine is permanently damaged. That's why replacing hoses and thermostats before they fail is one of those boring jobs that can save an entire engine. High-mileage vehicles aren't lucky. They're protected before problems ever grow. Water creates a sneakier problem. Imagine your carpet damp after heavy rain. Most people dry it and move on, not realizing electronic control modules sit beneath it. The computers running the vehicle, a tiny leak from a clogged drain slowly spreads moisture through wiring until random electrical failures appear weeks later, by which point tracking the leak is far harder than fixing it early. Here's a mistake that surprises almost everyone. People love pressure washing their engine bay spotless, satisfying until water forces its way into ignition, coils, and connectors never built for that pressure. The engine may even start fine afterward, giving false confidence. Then, days later, misfires or electrical faults appear out of nowhere. Cleaning gently beats blasting everything. And while we're on electricity, ground connections collect corrosion over the years, forcing the charging system to work harder. Meanwhile, rodents may already be hiding under your hood. Wiring insulation attracts mice, and one night of chewing can disable airbags or engine sensors. A quick monthly check takes minutes, but can prevent repair bills nobody expects. After all this, one 2-minute habit still matters more than the rest, and it's probably the easiest on the list. After everything we've covered, you'd probably guess the number one habit involves pricey tools or serious mechanical know-how. It doesn't. The real difference between a car that dies at 150,000 miles and one that cruises past 750,000 usually comes down to a dead simple 2-minute routine that almost nobody actually does. Start with your engine oil. That's the only thing standing between your engine's metal parts and them grinding against each other. Once the level drops, damage is already happening, long before any warning light bothers to tell you. Next, check the coolant. Even a tiny leak can quietly turn into overheating, and overheating can turn into a repair bill with a lot of zeros on it. Catching these things early is always easier and cheaper than dealing with them after the fact.
While you've got the hood up, take a quick look at the brake fluid and transmission fluid too, if your car has a dipstick for it. You're not hunting for perfection here, just checking for anything noticeably lower than it should be. Fleet operators have leaned on this exact habit for decades, simply because stopping a problem is always cheaper than fixing one. The clearest proof of this is Irv Gordon's legendary Volvo, which racked up millions of miles, not through luck, but through consistent care. And that's really the lesson behind every tip in this video. Small habits, done week after week, keep a car alive far longer than any expensive repair ever could. So, which of these habits have you been skipping? Fixing just one starting today could add years to your car's life, and maybe keep it running long after you thought it had any miles left to give. Cars rarely die from age. They fail because of neglected habits. Bring the story full circle by connecting back to the opening claim that simple maintenance beats expensive repairs.